Finally here, the very last world of the Pacifist Challenge. I'm not going to waste any time on this intro because I've got a very special message at the end of this video, so let's just finish this mission. Day 1 is actually not business as usual for once, as we're already greeted by the world gimmick of modern day. Time rifts, is what I assume they're called, I'm not actually sure. This gimmick involves rifts opening once per stage that spawns a bunch of zombies from different worlds. It's not too impactful truthfully, but it is a nice callback to past worlds, I like it a lot. Day 2 and we start off with basic time warp span, and man, look at the caliber of zombies here, dude. If this is the amount of trash we have to deal with day 2, we are in for a struggle. Day 3 is the tutorial for the Shrinkadink, and I've never actually considered that this is a usable plant for this challenge, although I'm not sure what it would actually achieve for us. Day 4 starts off as if it's going to be an imp rush stage, which would have been ridiculously cool, but it becomes just a regular rush of good stuff pretty quickly. Still annoyed how late I realized this strategy is kind of unbeatable. I think double sweet potato could have saved us a lot of headaches on past levels. Day 5, and after close to 2 years of using the gum nut almost daily, I just noticed that when you use it, it has this funny little animation where it flies off like a balloon. Am I crazy for not noticing that before? I don't know. The level itself was pretty easy despite the spin kick losers making it annoying. Day 6 brings back the sun tiles and puts them all at the very front of the lawn. We also have to generate 4k sun to beat this level. I filled the front of the lawn with infinites, which was very cool and a great idea, but total overkill. 4k sun is just not that hard to get. We had no way to deal with the wizard zombies here, but they just weren't an issue for some reason. Weirdly, not a factor at all. Day 7 wasn't very noticeable to be honest, except for the fact that due to the weird combination of zombies from different worlds, this stage was really purple. Just like a whole lot of purple here. Day 8 is my favourite gimmick level of the entire game. I don't even like these Bejeweled style games, I just love the upgrade system here, and the added pressure of zombies eating your plant makes for a really fun minigame. My chat was begging me to stop playing because I'm really bad, but if I'm that bad, how come this level was so not even close? Day 9 is a pre-selected plant stage featuring one of my least favourite plants of all time, this thing. Hate this stupid plant. Day 10 brings back power tiles, maybe my favourite world gimmick in the game. Just a shame we end up completely ignoring them as we have access to infinite power tiles for 0 sun cost. What a disturbingly powerful plant. This was the first level of the world that I found and it took me a good hour to beat. This level brings back jetpack zombies, so I moved to spamming tool nuts. They just couldn't hold against these boss rush style waves, though it did make it tantalizingly close. I did eventually remember how jetpack zombies work though. Despite not being able to get hit by the gum nut, they still get stuck behind zombies that are already gummed, so I just used this setup. Worked a charm. Day 11 contains 2 of our arch nemesis, the piano zombie and the football mech. 2 zombies that have caused us a world of pain. I buckled down in preparation for one of our hardest levels yet, but it turns out the piano zombie just doesn't work in this world, and the football mech is way too slow to beat time warps, so it was actually a clean sweep. I brought the EM Peach, finally remembering that it counts as mechs, but I didn't even use it once. Regardless, it goes on the list of used plants in this challenge. Day 12 brings back what, in retrospect, might have been the single biggest issue zombie in this entire challenge, the chicken wrangler. And on top of that, we can't lose more than 10 plants. This level was absolutely brutal, but I did get it done after just a couple of hours. We needed to use just 4 gum nuts, 1 primal sunflower, and 4 reinforcements. I do actually believe that if these were weasel wranglers instead of chicken wranglers, this level might have been impossible, as you can release the chickens with gum, but the same isn't true for weasels, and I just don't know how I would have dealt with that instead. Day 13 is more matching. I recently had a long flight and I downloaded Bejeweled, another PopCap classic, and I can confirm that this game stays fun for an entire 5 minutes. I kicked myself the entire flight for not downloading Peggle instead. I need to make a Peggle video. Day 14 is a pre-selected plant level, but day 15 is a banger. It's a level where you need to protect Walnut from imp cannons, which is a really unique challenge as the imps get fired directly into the center of the walnuts, which is hard for us to deal with. We can just use a sweet potato to move them, but it can be really difficult to even notice that there's an imp there to begin with. The bigger challenge, however, is the newly introduced balloon zombie. Flying zombies have always been a big difficulty in this challenge, but this one is the strongest flying zombie by far. I originally tried Tornut spam like always, but these guys were just too formidable. Instead, we need to use our very last ace plant for this challenge. A plant I didn't even consider until someone pointed it out to me, the cactus. The cactus has the ability to pop these balloons, permanently grounding the zombies, doing so without ever damaging a zombie. With this new trick in our toolbox, I beat this level in under an hour. Day 16 is one of the most fun conveyor belt levels there are. It's like a Gargant boss rush level. This world actually has really fun gimmick levels, and I think that's a large part as to why this world ends up being one of my favourite in the entire game. On day 17, the difficulty of this world really reaches the point where we just can't experiment too much with our setups. We need to lock in with our very best strategies. And for most of them, it'll be the double sweet potato and gumnut spam. On this day specifically, we're dealt with a ton of these arcade zombies that look to be a real problem, as he pushes the arcade machines past the sweet potatoes. I thought this was game over, but the arcade machines just didn't work. This was bizarre to me, as the roller skaters and punk zombies are fixed to work without the music, but this guy was just left out. Oh well, that works for me. Day 18 had one of the most frustrating combination of zombies that was a problem for probably no one else in history but me. And that's because of a super annoying interaction between the balloon zombie, the ball jockey, and the cactus. See, I'm doing the double sweet potato strat again, and it's working perfectly. I save a space behind the sweet potato to put a cactus when they're needed, but on this very last wave when I need to use the cactus, these stupid balls kick the imps directly onto the cactus, which in the second game for some reason turns it into a spikeweed and the balloons just fly off. I'm sure I could have found a creative way around this, but I just brute forced it, and after like 2 hours, it worked. Day 19 is a very boring conveyor belt level, coming just after I glazed how good they are in this world, of course. Day 20 was an easy double sweet potato sweep, so it's time for our very last PowerPoint of this challenge. These have been my absolute favourite part of this challenge, as it's nice to just talk to you guys about something that isn't Plants vs Zombies for once. And this one's the one I've been waiting months to do. This is every single scrapped PowerPoint and why it was scrapped. I'm not gonna lie, some of these are bad. r/flashlights was going to be the subject of my second video, inspired by this meme that was doing the rounds at the time. The only reason it didn't make it to the video was because it just wasn't very interesting past this one hilarious image. Why predator busting videos are kinda messed up is a topic that's been on my mind for a while. I was obsessed with Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator for years, it's one of my favourite shows, and it's extremely satisfying to watch an evil person get their comeuppance. But a huge issue of the YouTube copycats is that they often target vulnerable people with disabilities that need help and guidance more than they need cringe B-Tech vigilante justice. This one was actually fully put together and voiced, but I decided that it's just not a hill I'm willing to die on, and I think too many people would have misinterpreted it as me blindly defending predators, which I obviously don't want. The worst running joke in Family Guy was the one that I was the most passionate about. I love Family Guy, I have it playing in the living room 24/7, I've watched like the full show 8+ times. It's just the easiest to consume media ever made, but in the last few seasons they've got so lazy with the jokes that they just have this ear-bleeding announcer that just announces agonizingly unfunny jokes like this.
Bud Light, wow, how did we get here?
They do it in like every other episode now and it drives me bonkers. The reason this one didn't make it was that I was just kind of embarrassed to admit that I love Family Guy so much, it's not a great look for my brand. Why Peep Show is the greatest comedy ever made was a sad PowerPoint. Peep Show is probably my favourite show ever made, only just tied with Smiling Friends, and I'm a strong believer that everyone has to watch Peep Show. And I was going to break down why it's so funny, but in the end, I just had to accept that most of my audience is American, and the American mind just can't comprehend Peep Show. The full show is now available for free on YouTube, so definitely go and watch it, but most of the humour comes from the main characters living miserable lives, which is designed for the British existence of living in a shithole. Apologies to Justin Fletcher, I think was my funniest PowerPoint. It was an apology on behalf of everyone to kids show host Justin Fletcher, who played a character called Mr. Tickle. He has been going strong for like 20 years now, and it's honestly no exaggeration when I say that every household in Britain called this guy a nonce. It was basically just accepted that Mr. Tickle was a Jimmy Savile style sex pest. But parents stuck us in front of the TV to watch him anyway because we didn't have iPads back then. But after a lifetime of working in television, it really does appear that Justin Fletcher is actually like the most unproblematic person to ever appear on the BBC. No scandals, no allegation, no nonsense. This one was cancelled because I just wasn't sure if anyone outside of Britain had ever actually heard of this guy. The last PowerPoint, which I was actually saving for this video, was the story of how I accidentally leaked the Plants vs Zombies 1 remake early. This one is an incredibly funny story that I wish I could tell you guys, but at the end of the day, the less EA knows, the better. It was honestly an accident for the record, and I really didn't leak it to that many people, but EA isn't exactly known for being the most rational company ever. Now, I'm not really sure what happened for these next 5 or so levels, but they all look like this. So I've recreated the gameplay, meaning some things won't quite line up. I apologize. Day 21 introduces the All-Star Zombie. It's a real nuisance for the average free-to-play player, but for us gilded gumnut users, this guy is not too bad at all. This level was actually pretty frustrating regardless, as these microphone spinning zombies would destroy our sweet potatoes quite frequently, and it cost us several retries. Day 22 is another one of these belters. A lot of zombies just don't work in this world, like the piano and arcade zombies, and no level exemplifies this better than Day 23, as I just lost it when the snorkel zombie just waddled onto the stage. Who invited this dude? The real challenge of this level was the octo zombie. There's a lot of them. Luckily, we already have a way to deal with this in the boing setter, and in using this beauty of a plant, it turns out she doesn't only pop all the octopuses, but it also pops all balloons on the screen. This is a baffling and downright unintuitive interaction, but fuck it, we take it. I wish I knew this a couple levels ago though. Day 24 is the mandatory end of world difficulty drop. We're dealing with a malfunctioning piano, a triceratops zombie, and the great zombie. Between them, that's 0 special abilities we need to consider. On top of that, it's a simple 2-waver. This one was easy. Day 25 is the sick carrot level. I accidentally turned off airplane mode for this one, so I had to play an ad, and I'm ashamed to admit I quite enjoyed it. Day 26, I decided to switch it up to the old reliable time warp spam. This was working, but this level ended up having too many zombies, and it just slowed the game down to a crawl. On top of that, there were so many flying zombies that ignored the sap, but once we ran it back with the mighty Tornuts, we beat this level. But it was an absolute clencher. I speedrun Day 27, like legitimately beat it in like 2 minutes. Day 28 is very similar to the octopus level we just had, but this time with the wizard zombie. This time round, the boing setter doesn't bail us out. On top of that, we need to generate 3k sun, which normally isn't too hard, but with 10 wizards we can't stop from polymorphing everything. We need to get that sun down early before the gaggle of Gandalfs show up. It took a couple of attempts, but we got there eventually. On day 29, I went a bit overkill. On this level, one of the last levels of the entire game mind you, we're dealt the challenge of the Tomb Raiser zombie. So in response, I placed 1000 boing setters. This level was easy to beat, but it came down to the last second when it came to making sure all zombies were on screen, extremely close. Whilst I still consider day 28 of Big Wave Beach to be the hardest level in the game, many people consider day 30 of Modern to be the true hardest level, and I really do see why. It's a brutal protect the line level with only 3 rows of leeway. Pair that with the fastest zombies in the entire game and we are pretty cooked. For this challenge specifically, the difficulty curve here was weird. It took about an hour to find the perfect loadout for this level. We had to pay for an extra seed slot to have any hope of beating this level. And after all that tinkering, I landed on the primal sunflower for sun obviously, but also the gold bloom. I really didn't want to take this plant as I literally only need to use it once, but the first 2 minutes of this level was brutal without it. The sweet potato and gumnut is our main game plan here, but we don't use the imitator as I just couldn't afford the extra sun slot. And realistically, the gumnut does charge quick enough that we don't need it. The boing set is here to deal with the massive balloons that the cactus just couldn't deal with, and the solar sage is here to clear out the zombies at the end of the level. Finally, the collie power was here to deal with the gargs. Once I found the perfect loadout, it wasn't that hard to get through the level, but the last wave was just crippling. There were so many gargs that the gum just couldn't consistently hold everything back. Literally the first time in my entire time playing this challenge that was the case. Once the gum failed, we had about a second to react as the balloon zombies moved disturbingly fast about their balloons. There was also a ton of prospector zombies that just made this last wave a nightmare. Despite 90% of this level being a breeze, it took me 4 hours in order to beat this level, as the last wave just went tits up time after time. What a horrible level. Day 31, the very last level of this challenge, and we go out on a banger. While this level is a little bit underbaked, with 3 pool floaties plopped in the middle of the map, these literal once utilized leftovers from Big Wave Beach act almost completely like the ice towers from Frostbite Cave, with the sole exception of them lacking the weird glitch from Frostbite Caves that caused the hurricane to instantly kill stuff. Which means we get to utilize the double hurricane. Almost every single plant in this setup allows us to move plants over. The hurricanes, the boing setter, the time warp. Each one of them lets us filter all the zombies into one lane. This was far from the most efficient way to beat this level, but it was extremely fun. And at the end of the day, that's what these challenges are for. In fact, the very last thing to happen in this challenge was a lawnmower setting off a tiny bit too early. And as I thought this level was over, I made an unbelievably clutch garlic plant food closing out the pacifist run perfectly.
We are finally at the end of this nightmare challenge, and thank God. I just want to talk a bit about why I did this challenge in the first place and what comes next. I originally didn't want to do another challenge run, as they're just a bit overdone now, and I don't feel as proud of them as I do my other videos. But as of late, I've been really struggling to manage my ADHD. Specifically, I've been dealing with crippling productivity issues, and that's dragged my upload schedule to a halt. Last November, I was finally diagnosed with ADHD after 3 years of waiting, and I was informed it'd be a further 10 months before I got to start my medication. That was brutal to hear, and I could barely drag myself out of bed for weeks. So I decided to do another long-running challenge series to pad out the coming months. They're just easier to produce than more original videos. But I've been very disappointed by how long this series has taken to make, and I think the quality is noticeably lacking as well. But you guys have stuck around anyway, and I just can't stress how much that means to me. I can't even picture the dire state my life would be in if I didn't have you guys around to motivate me. This channel really saved me. I'm now only a month away from starting medication, which will enable me to fully dedicate myself to these videos, which is my ultimate passion. Once I'm past the rough titration period, which is likely to make things worse before it gets better, I'm aiming to both double the amount of videos uploaded on this channel, and also the quality of the videos. This isn't me overworking myself, which you guys have expressed concern before when I've spoke about this, but this is me being able to finally dedicate myself to my passion. But above all, I will finally be making that damned balloons tower defense video I've been teasing for months. Basically, it's all coming up Shagro.
Thank you all very much for watching. Cheers.